In January, I got a 2016 MacBook Pro for $20, and the only fault that I thought it had was water damage. I thought that a new logic board would fix all of the problems that it had, but after I replaced the logic board, I found out that I was wrong. The trackpad was also damaged, and I wanted some extra parts in case anything else was faulty, so I decided to buy a 2016 MacBook Pro with a smashed screen for $190, including tax and shipping. And when I got the Mac, I started doing the logic board swap. The first thing that I noticed was that the parts computer had water damage too, but the listing said that it booted up just fine, so I continued to swap the boards over. When I got the board in with the non-cracked screen, I realized that the screen had some really bad water damage. This was confusing because I assumed this Mac was water damaged over 5 years ago, considering the condition of the Mac was overall very good, and it didn't look heavily used at all. The other problem that I was having was that there was no OS installed. When I tried internet recovery, I got an error. I kept trying with no success, and then when I tried installing macOS Monterey over a USB drive, I got another error. I cleared the NVRAM, and the errors went away, and I was able to install macOS. The next problem that I had was really confusing. Since the touch bar cable was damaged on my original MacBook, it wouldn't let me set the computer up. I ended up getting the computer to recognize the touch bar, and I got the touch bar to light up, but the touch bar's touch function still doesn't work, so the touch bar is essentially useless now. After setting up the Mac, I was able to see just how bad the water damage affected the display. I also checked the battery health and cycles, which confirmed that it wasn't used that much, as it had just over 100 something charge cycles. And since this thing was in really nice condition, I think that it was only used for a few months before it got water damaged. The display is very badly damaged. It's to the point where it's almost unusable due to the water damage. I tried to fix it using heat, but that did nothing. After doing this, I realized two things. One is that water damage stuff is mostly trash that should be removed from usage from anybody. And two is that buying old water damaged stuff and trying to fix it can be a big waste of time. Luckily, I've never water damaged a computer, although Apple said I did last year. I still think that I can make money off of this even with the screen because these computers are still worth a good bit of money, and I'm sure that somebody will buy it on eBay. The only issue is eBay fees and all of that. These 2016 through 2019 MacBook Pros are really just e-waste nowadays since the keyboards are trash, the cooling is basically useless, and the displays have other issues past this user-inflicted damage on my unit right here. This computer is basically good only for an external monitor now, and since I already have something that does the job better than this, I have no use for this computer. Replacing the display would not be a good option since the displays for this computer sell for around $200 to $300 used, and that would make this whole computer's repairs cost more than it's actually worth. And then the touch bar issues would also make the repair more expensive, and it would take a lot more time. I also have the rest of the parts from the MacBook Pro that I used for parts, and I can also sell those to make some money, even though I did use the trackpad from that to put in place of the broken trackpad that was on the Space Gray model. In the end, since the computer itself only cost me $20, I think that putting some money into repairing it was a good idea, since I'll be able to sell this computer in its current state in the end, along with the silver MacBook Pro for parts. So it's not like I'm losing any money really, but it's not what I hoped it would be because I thought the screen would have been in much better condition because usually water damage doesn't do this to a computer. But I guess since Apple's displays are so well sealed, this really was unavoidable, and I guess that the water damage internally on the computer was really not bad at all, but in the display, I guess the screen was the main issue with the water damage, and it was probably exposed screen first into some sort of water, or something was spilled on it and it was flipped upside down and it got in the screen or something like that, because in the end, this computer really is unusable in its current state. Unless somebody was to connect this thing up to an external monitor, it's kind of unusable in its current state, honestly. But the last thing that this repair made me realize is that there's MacBook Pros out there for like $200. The only thing that somebody would have to do to make one of these MacBooks usable is actually connect it up to an external monitor, and I think that the price to performance right there is pretty good because for like $300 or $400, the Mac Pro is available from 2013, and I think that's a pretty bad deal when comparing it to this because if somebody was to bring their own keyboard and mouse and whatever else, the display too, I think that's much better than a 2013 Mac Pro because it's less money and it's also a newer computer with, I believe, a better processor. So I might be wrong there, but in the end, that just seems like a better idea than to do a Mac Pro from 2013. Anyways, with that said, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you liked the video, and if you want to see more content like this, you can subscribe, and goodbye.